Hello and welcome to your heart's path. My name is Faye. This is actually take 2 for the collective energy reading for the month of November. And there was an interesting little lesson overnight that I feel is relevant for the entire collective. And that is to be really mindful that we're not rushing right now. Yesterday when I recorded the collective energy reading, there was a bit of a time limitation and also a bit of tension in my body with the expectation of perfection. This is something I think we all need to be aware of this month, and I'm showing up to record this and channel for you all, whereas yesterday I channeled the topics and the themes for you all and then delivered them more sort of through my humanness, which is okay, but it's really important that we have a felt experience at the moment. Words are just words unless they come from a really felt experience of the heart. We're moving into a very intuitive month where sensitivity is continuously being amplified. But what I felt when I woke up this morning was that the transmission wasn't strong enough to penetrate the heart in a way that I felt like it needs to, in order for the messages to come across and really settle into your body and your being to support you in the best way possible. So I'm going to enter into channel mode today versus referring from my pre-recorded notes to offer insight and information in the most delicate way possible to support you through the month of November 2023 as this profoundly intense time has been very testing, but we are on the precipice of experiencing life in a very new and profound way that is causing a certain amount of confusion and angst as to which foot am I going to put in front of the other. The first expression that my guide showed to me was this feeling of going from one extreme to the other. When we're looking at one extreme to the other, this is kind of manifesting in multiple areas of our lives. So it might be that at the beginning of the year, you decided to work on your strength and to build strength inside of your body. So you've gone and done this and your body is really, really strong. But what now is out of balance is that there isn't a lot of flexibility or mobility. And perhaps you've tightened some muscles to the point where you're not sitting very comfortably. And so there's this kind of like rebalancing to the center where we start to look at areas of our life, not just physically, mentally, and emotionally and spiritually, but where we're looking for sustainability of the transformation and change that has occurred inwardly. I know that sounds like a mouthful, but initially it will feel like you are going backwards to find that center point, but it just is around, I guess, looking at ways where sustainability, we're looking at a longer term vision of being, doing, having, contributing when we're looking at the bigger picture. This can come in the form of like service work for people as well. I'm seeing a lot of business owners or like small business owners that are potentially going and getting a part-time job at the moment to balance the stress of feeling like you need to meet a certain element of financial income each month. And actually having a part-time job 1 or 2 days a week allows for your nervous systems to settle so you feel more creative on the days where you can execute your passion through your small business, whether that be at home or whatever it is that you're doing. It can also feel like intense things, like where we've become like quite obsessed with something. It could be like an obsession with something as silly as like a TV show or a new game or something where all of your attention has gone and then these other areas of life sort of seem to be imbalanced. So we are looking for a little bit more balance here. It's not about removing this thing or this passion or this what it is that you've been devoted to from your life completely. It's just about kind of rejigging it and finding a kind of healthier execution of this essence from whichever area of your life this is, a less extreme participation in this energy so that you can start to get other areas of your life into balance, because we are a little off balance here. They're sort of showing me this in the way of like the mind and stuff as well. I feel like this kind of brings in this sensation of like disorientation at this point as well. Almost like there's been like a disconnect to certain areas of life, and it can come like a bit of a wake-up call. It's like, whoa, okay. Whoa, I realized how much energy and attention I've been putting into XYZ, and now I need to start to like purposefully place myself in different areas of my life to kind of get a little bit more wholeness and a little bit more groundedness. This expression can almost manifest as a feeling of like selfishness as well. Not that being selfish is a bad thing, but too much of that can start to is not very healthy. And so it kind of feels like this openness where all of a sudden we have, or you may realize that you're kind of looking out at life and going, oh, interesting, I've kind of been disconnected from these different areas or these different people, or I didn't realize how much of my time and energy I was putting into myself, and I've kind of let these friendships go. And so there's a kind of assessment of our energy in, energy out. This is really beautiful in some sense because there's going to be a strength that has and a recognition that comes from your ability to be determined. But in placing our energy elsewhere, the areas that have felt stagnant are very much kind of like they come through as like a invocation energy. So it's much more about placing intention versus waiting for things to happen at the moment. If you are sitting in a space where you're like, okay, like that's all good, but like I'm feeling a bit stagnant, I'm not really sure what's next, it's time to start having a conversation with the universe. Start placing intention to get some motion moving. That doesn't mean, again, that you need to know the specifics of what it is that you want to experience, but it might be, okay, like I'm feeling really tight and really tense and really closed. I want to experience some more openness and some more relaxation. Please, universe, show me how this can be done. Start planting your whispers into the wind as to what it is you want, actually. Sometimes we look more towards needs, because when I'm looking at needs, we're kind of looking more from that heart perspective or the soul perspective. We always know we have what it is that we need. Want is not always something that we may focus on when we're looking at a spiritual path. And more so from the sense that, well, we shouldn't want anything because we have everything that we already need. And in some sense and from some perspective, that is all true. But your wants and your desires, there is room for them this month. Desire is a topic of conversation that I would really love for you to bring into your life, as it can reveal another layer of dissatisfaction that allows for some satisfaction in the way that you're experiencing life. Sensuality, beauty, desire. I love this inquiry right now, in that I also feel there is a huge chunk of you that may have been experiencing an element of numbness, like a not sort of really feeling turned on by life, feeling more like you've been in a grind, that you've been walking uphill. And there is this moment of exhalation that is available in November through embodying softness and what I'm going to call like relaxation. It's an equal dance of trusting in the universe and what is coming, but also placing your order at this time. Your order from your needs, but also from your wants and your desires. The key here, though, is that the desire is not so much about you or the I, and it is more about your contribution to humanity and mankind. And I say this because it is quite an expanded desire, that there is this need and also want to be able to contribute to humanity in new ways right now. It is a time of innovation, creative inspiration. So if you have ideas coming through where you see a blind spot or you see a patch where you go, you know what, I could contribute here, whether that be to your local community, something online, a new project, a new idea, a new way of just treating people when you're in the same environment as them, please grab these inspirations, these ideas, write them down, ground them into your matrix and your being. The beauty of downloads is that they come through for somebody to accept them and then manifest it into the physical world. So it's less about just these ideas pinging and popping around and kind of being wasted, and it is actually about gaining some momentum now to begin taking that action through October, November, December, January. I feel like we are starting to action the innovation or the innovative ideas that I want you to see as gifts. If it's not something you want to do the work to bring into the world, say this to the download, say this to the universe, say this to you guys, please pass this on to someone else, or share the idea out aloud. Don't need to treasure this or keep it tucked away for another rainy day. These are things that need to come through right now because humanity and mankind really need some assistance. We are really focusing on, I really want to say the shift needs to be around the perspective of seeing life through the light of love. There's a lot of pain and suffering externally, and we're feeling that inside of our systems, and we can contribute to that energy by falling deeply into the suffering and entertaining and bringing to life our own stories from wherever they may be from, or creating more drama internally. Or we look at this from what I'm going to say a more mature and grounded perspective. And again, how can I contribute? Are you sending your prayers? Are you anchoring light into these people? Are you giving where you feel like you can? I feel a lot of the suffering, if there is not something physical in your world or your life, or you're not being affected by some of these really disastrous things that are happening in the world directly, your role and your job and your responsibility is to actually start to contribute your light to the world and help heal what is going on. We all have that sense of wanting to contribute right now. So your desire to participate is less about you and the I and your personality self, and more about, hold on a moment, there's a gateway open here to be able to contribute to humanity. So start asking those questions. There can be clarity as to new directions with career path, partnerships. This can mean that people are moving to different countries or states for different job opportunities to actually start to contribute in a way that your soul and your heart choose to desire, not for the reward that is financial, although there is a lot of, I'm going to say like good karma and good, it's almost like the feeling of generosity, the feeling of financial reward, the feeling of, there is an element of being rewarded for participating from that space right now. So if you've been one of those people that's been like working at your own business and it's been slow going, you feel like you've been grinding, now is kind of a time where you might be given a bit of a lesson, a learning, or a challenge to where the outside world might not be mirroring to you, say like your bank account might not be as like flush as you once upon a time expected it to be, and you kind of feel like you've been on the grind, except you love this thing and you're passionate about it. Take those extra couple of steps, because I honestly feel like this could be the moment that you kind of get that momentum and you start to see the reward or feel the reward from this experience, and the hard work and the dedication which you have been applying yourself to for quite some time. I just get lots of strange little pictures of this place. This goes for small business as well. Please support those that are around you. Share, like generosity can be, there's nothing more exciting for me when somebody decides that they want to share their experience that they've had with me in a one-on-one reading, and they share that with a friend, because that friend may then go, wow, there's like a line of trust there. My friend had a really beautiful experience. Now, this is something I really need in my life. And then they come through. So things like word of mouth, sharing your experiences. I bought a beautiful bralette yesterday, and I intend to do a little shout out to that business, because it's something that feels like it's just a really good match for me. It's a really beautiful product. It's ethical and it's comfortable, and it's what, it's worth raving about. So generosity can be through words. It can be through gift. It can be through loving affirmation. Let's be generous with our hearts. Let's be generous with our lights. If you feel the density of the experience that's happening in different places on the earth, contribute back with light. There are forces that exist in this world that feed off fear, that feed off your panic, that feed off your lack, that feed off your grief, that feed off your toxicity. They want you in that state of being. That is their agenda. So do not be their life force. Be the life force of the light to contribute to this new earth we are in. And it seems very strange that there are still things manifesting in this world like war, but we have the ability to contribute energetically and to show up for those people that need us right now. When things like this are happening, it's really common for the being to be kind of squeezed. And we got wrung out last month, and I'm sorry I didn't get to do the collective energy reading for you all. I was detoxing and just not able to come into a channel and be in my light. This wringing out happened last month, squeezing every little bit out of that, if you can imagine, like a sponge in my hand. This month, it's kind of this feeling of like, right, there's a little bit of vulnerability here. There's a little bit of like, I'm ready to absorb new experiences from life. I'm just not sure how to like function yet. I don't know how to kind of action this yet. So there is this sensation of like newness, and with the newness, not really knowing what that archetypal expression is or where to place one foot in front of the other. There is a kind of a little theme that I brought through around stagnancy, stalling, or stargazing. And I really like this because they're three kind of energies that you may experience through November. And it can be a dance between all three. The stagnancy is so important to acknowledge that there is actually like greatness in stagnancy, because and this came through for a reading in someone earlier today, and I love this image. It was of like a lazy Susan in the beginning of in the middle of a table. And in the middle of this table was like life. And if you can imagine that you're in a space of stagnancy, and whilst you might not be moving forwards or backwards or side to side, you're still, and you have this beautiful position in this stagnancy to observe your potential future outcomes, what it is that you are choosing, what it is that you've grown away from, whom you are, kind of looking around in awe at your life, inwardly at what's going on, how you're responding, how you're really feeling. And so it's so important. Like stagnancy has so many gifts. And so if you've been feeling stagnant or stuck or like I don't know where to go forward, if you haven't been inward, go inward. If you've been inward, it's time to make a decision. Make that decision from your heart, from your light, from your intuition, from your higher self. Which direction am I going in now? Pick something, focus on it, and start to move in that direction. If it's just for you, it's going to feel really dry. If it is for you and it affects the lives of other people in a positive way, or mankind, or the animals, or the plants, or the oceans, or you are contributing with that energy, it's going to feel really great, and you're going to find some momentum really quickly. If you still haven't been in, you're going to stay in that position until you go inward, or you have some support to be able to go in to receive the guidance that you need in order to take this next step. I do sort of sense that you can have this kind of like push from the universe, or like an incident that comes into your life that shows you what this is if there is a lot of resistance there. So I release resistance to the light. I release resistance to hearing my intuition. I release the resistance to taking responsibility to my soul's calling. Using these affirmations to really start to shift some of this energy can get some momentum, but you might want to stay in stagnancy for a couple of weeks and be in this position of the lazy Susan, where you get to have a look at all these different aspects of life and look at what is contributing meaning. Look at what is bringing value. Look at what is offering value outwardly. Where could you be more generous? Where are you sort of like closing to life? Where could you open more? And it sort of sets up your next chapter, and your next chapter might be the next year or the next 3 years. I feel like there can be people almost looking at, like we mentioned, like a career change or studying something new, or there's curiosities happening from this place of so-called stagnancy where we're starting to assess different potential future outcomes, and we have very clear vision into the future timelines and what those possibilities can be. So it might just be a crossroads that you've got two decisions, one of two options, or it may be that you've got multiple. Sometimes kind of summarizing these as an overall theme, or like the essence, say, like I want to change my career. What are my options here? Starting to refine some of that from that lazy Susan position to then actually starting to make some inquiries. If you are in a space of stagnancy and your body is feeling fatigued and sore, it is very much time to action. So just making sure that you're not in like a freeze response, getting some support there if that's what you feel like has happened. But if there are aches and pains, your body is already talking to you, we need to get energy moving. So like, it's time, let's get up and get going. It can be that initial hurdle of like overcoming the fear, to just give it a crack is enough to kind of propel you into that next stage. That brings us to the stalling element of this, and stalling being where you know which direction you're going in, or you've been on that path for a while. That can be in like a relationship. We can look at this at work. We can look at this just in life. But if you're feeling that sensation of like stalling because your ego mind is getting the better of you, blocks and things keep coming up that stop you, your body is getting sick and you feel overwhelmed, you're working with fear this month, and it might actually kind of creep into sort of like 6 to 8 months. Themes of fear that have inevitably presented themselves in your life over and over and over again, that have resulted in overwhelm. There is an opportunity for you this month to actually be done with these layers of fear. We have a heck of a lot of bravery and courage that is surfacing in the world right now. There is fire to digest this, to breathe this out, to be able to observe it, feel it, be done with it. I see the essence of like the dragon coming out and really putting your foot down and taking that position of your higher self and going, you're enough. I'm not living in fear anymore. I'm not living in scarcity anymore. I'm not living in lack anymore. I'm not living in solitude anymore. I'm not living in a space where I'm closing my energy or my heart off to people anymore because I'm afraid of being hurt, or like these kind of stories that stop us from experiencing life and bringing who you are into the world, to really love and be loved in return and contribute in some way that has meaning for you, where you can offer value. So you are working with fear if you are stalling your heart and your soul's dream. Look at where it's growing in your life and do whatever it is that you can to remove that from within your being. We are here to release the stories, not to regurgitate them. If you're stargazing, I like this. It's romantic, it's creative, it's restful. You are one of those people that I feel gets your like badge of, almost like a badge of honor to, you've learned how to rest. You've learned how to reflect. You've given yourself permission and time to soften into your feminine heart and to stop all of the conversation and the words and the articulation of life, and instead have been feeling. And this is really, really important. This is emotional intelligence. It's also the current of energy, your clairsentience, that leads to your cognizance, your strong knowing as to when it is time to get up. And again, action. It's a strange dance between rest, reflection, creativity to, I'm going to start to walk my talk musically. Like they're saying, like this sort of feels like the creatives in some sense. Everyone is a creative. If this is you've taken a break from the outward kind of dance and you are gazing, it's like almost time, like the sun is almost there, because it does look like nighttime when I'm seeing this clairvoyant, like the sun is going to rise, and when the sun rises, it's time to again get up and start to execute these tasks by taking the action outwardly. It's this weird dance between like action, reflection, observation this month. So I really like this, and it may be, again, an individual experience, whether you're stagnant, you're stalling, or you're stargazing. It's going to manifest in different ways. Just kind of knowing which one you're in will help give you permission to surrender to that experience wholeheartedly as well. The creatives are getting like big downloads right now. So roll with that whilst it's there. It's such a gift when it wants to come through. Don't question this. If you've got those overwhelming sensations of fatigue, but you've been looking after your body in a really beautiful way, you may be downloading. So always check that question, am I downloading? If you are downloading, it's often after a big purge. So that's where your system can feel a little bit more exhausted. But nonetheless, a really beautiful experience. And you may feel a combination of stagnancy, stalling, and stargazing. But what this results in is I've got to say, like for some of you, new contracts, new ways of being, an integrated and a grounded version of yourself coming to life. We've had so many lessons and learnings this year, and a lot of that can feel like information up here until it kind of settles into the system and it's a fully felt experience. It's a authentic one. You're actioning this in your own life. If you're a meditation teacher but you weren't practicing meditation, we've got a really big problem here, right? If you're a chef but you are just buying kind of like takeaway and you're not practicing cooking for yourself or loving yourself in that way at home, you kind of got like a little bit of a discord of an energy. If you kind of get what I mean. It's like trying an authenticity, but from a lived perspective. It's almost like if you're like a health coach, but you're not taking care of your own health and well-being, we've got a problem. And we're going to start to see that in other people, where there's a discord between what's coming out of the mouth as far as words and then the felt experience that comes with that. that comes with that. It's like it's there or it's not there. And we're going to be trusting this a lot this month, and it's really, really important. Some things around karma as well. I'm not going to go too deeply into this. The first time I recorded this, I felt like I went on a bit of a tangent. What I am going to say is that if you're a channeler, there is some new information around karma that wants to come through right now. I could see these like downloads around karma. I think this is going to be a topic of conversation this month. I feel like we've got some illusions to burst in that way. There's kind of this like relationship to God or to the creator or to the universe that almost wants to be like recorrected, in this sense of like feeling like you're being punished for the challenges that arrive in your life versus looking at the challenges as an absolute blessing for growth and exploration and transformation. This kind of like dual experience of like good and bad, and I don't know, it kind of, and a more immediate relationship with life that calls us to the present moment more readily. And when you can give really generously this month, you will feel the karma, like the good karma that comes from that experience of like feeling whole and feeling really full and feeling really warm on the inside, nourished, of doing, it's like the small things that come together start to participate in your life and create like a bit of a rhythm that stimulates this like generosity internally in your body, where you then feel more inspired to look for opportunities to be more generous. And by being generous of sharing yourself or sharing your skills or sharing your tools or walking the beach and actually, you know, picking up the rubbish as you go past versus saying, oh, I'll do that next time. It's kind of like stringing together these things where we've said, oh, I'll do that someday, or one day I'll get better at that, or one day I'll do this, because you know you care. It's like, no, I've only got now. By coming into the present moment, we can see a more mirrored reflection of our relationship to love, of our relationship to life. And this is the way you are talking to yourself and treating yourself internally is going to be absolutely amplified this month. So if you're not being kind to yourself here, it's time to discipline your mind and start to affirm even louder. You can cancel, cut, and burn those thoughts and start to give power to your heart. This is a very intuitive month, as I said, so words can feel a little bit overwhelming, hence my reason for coming back and doing this video again, because I couldn't feel myself after recording the first one, even though it's the same transmission. I wanted to feel this through the whole system, because you're going to feel the words and the energy more than you are the specific words. So if you're if you're translating anything, whether that be art, whether it be through movement, a different practice, whether you're bridging something from here to here, if you are not in your body and you're grounded, you're going to notice things start to get really quiet, and that's your work. Get grounded and get embodied in what it is that you are wanting to share. If you're as I said, a coach, and you're wanting to attract more clients into your life, but you're eating rubbish every day and you're not doing your movement or embodying your authenticity and what you do genuinely care about, then that's your work. And if you don't care, get really honest with yourself and get back on that lazy Susan and pivot in a different direction. So I do feel like we're going to get discernment this month, and it's always a focal point when we're on this spiritual journey, but where there's been confusion and illusion, and we've been calling in that element of discernment, or wanting to be understood, or wanting to be held, or wanting to feel that support of the cosmos and the earth beneath us, to be able to confidently start to gain this new momentum and express these other elements of you that are here to be loved. You will get the clarity this month if you are there and ready and asking for it. I feel like this is a month too where if there's been some toxic kind of patterns and programmings that have been running the show, they're going to get so loud that they need to crack. So this is a time we need to be really careful of mental health if this is something you're affected by or family members are affected by. This is something I kind of feel like the mental mind is something that it really needs to, if there is an imbalance here that is detrimental to your well-being, it can get louder in order to be loved and cared about in new ways. This goes for the emotional numbness as well. I feel like this has kind of been problematic in relationships this year. So even if you're not feeling like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter if I'm not really feeling this, it's starting to affect the people around you. So it's sort of like the networks that we're a part of, like this oneness, the transparency of that is like really, really clear. So this is like in intimate relationships, that dance is like really clear. This is like in workplaces, the secrecy or the stuff that's kind of been hidden or not really been spoken about, but we know it's kind of going on. It becomes really clear and we actually start acting accordingly, or we put in new strategies, or we recreate like legislation rules and things like that here, because it's very hard to keep the bullshit away. For those of you that like, there's this essence around secrecy as well this month, and whilst it's okay to have secrets and privacy, things that are potentially detrimental to your well-being, if someone is keeping secrets from you or you are keeping secrets from other, that you know would change the trajectory of your life's path if there was a particular truth out aloud, there is going to be like some squeeze, push, pull kind of energy around this. And this is your focus to kind of start working with that. So this can be in like regards to some like more challenging experiences like paranoia, suspicion, these kind of things that have us question our intuition. And I know that seems kind of strange, but like if you're in a relationship with someone or you're in a job with someone and you're like, I just feel really like perhaps I'm not getting paid the same as everybody else. And I don't know that that's 100% true, but we're not really allowed to talk about it. But I just feel this feeling every time the money comes into my account each fortnight. I just feel this like something's not quite right here. But you've asked and then it's all just like hush hush and you haven't got your answer that you've been looking for. We actually do get the answers that we have been looking for this month if we can inquire. I'm going to finish off with communication. I know we've moved quite quickly today, but it is the second time in bringing this information through. So I just wanted to do so through the channel with absolute clarity. Communication is going to be heightened. And again, not so much about this communication, but the body's communication. Do you feel who you are connecting with and talking with? Do you feel the artwork that you're creating? Do you sense the earth when you're gardening? Do you like, how deeply are you in a romance with your life? And where there have been communication issues, these are going to be addressed or have an opportunity to be addressed with a third party support if need be. This could be like couples counseling. It's sort of, this could be like different meetings or things occurring in your workplace where there's an opportunity to speak up, so speak up. There's like an activation here, or that fire that we spoke of, or that feeling of like, you know, I just need to get this off my chest. It's a really good time to kind of get this out there without the fear of kind of making things worse than what they have been, and really kind of like holding that sword of like that warrior of truth and being like, you know what, this is my path. And even if I don't like the answer to my inquiry or the answer to the outcome, I'm prepared to hear it. I'm prepared to hear the truth. Okay. Anything else that we need to pass on? I don't feel so. Other than just like looking at new ways of your body and your being's way of communicating. There can be new ways of doing this. Perhaps you feel that desire to write again. Perhaps you feel that desire to dance how you're feeling, but you've always been a little bit shy and embarrassed and you think, you know what, bugger it, I'm just going to do it this month. Perhaps you've wanted something from your partner. You've been too ashamed to ask for it. Perhaps you feel like you need a pay rise in your position at work and you're just going to do it this time. Perhaps you want to be living somewhere colder or warmer and you think, you know what, I'm going to start putting things in place. I'm going to have that conversation with my family. It's time to leave the nest. I don't know that this experience it's never linear when we're doing a collective energy reading. There are just prominent pockets of energy that I do my best to be able to translate by placing words to describe how this may potentially unfold in your life. So look at these themes, everything that we've spoken of quite metaphorically, knowing that if I've referred to relationships, this can be your relationship to your dog. This can be your relationship to a colleague. It might not be romantic, but they affect different parts of us that we all are in different ways. I forgot one theme, and this is the lucky last, and I like this because it feels like it starts to sort of bring a sense of calmness and relaxation to my body as I even feel into it. And this was around deflation. For some of you, it's a huge congratulations for finishing contracts that you've been working at for a really long time. So this can mean your spirit guides depart at this time and new ones start to arrive to guide you into a next chapter. I've seen contracts for ascension coming through for people that have finished levels of their light body to start to journey into different chapters. I've seen people finish uni degrees. There's almost this feeling of graduation. And after climbing a mountain or climbing a building to the very top where you've reached your potential, you've spent some time having a look at this beautiful bird's eye view and kind of taking it all in. And now it's time to come back down to earth with this information, this experience, this energy integrated into your body and your being as wisdom that now you get a decision and a choice as to what to do with. It may be that just gets, that you start to share this. So you start to teach. It may be that you start to share. It may be that you decide to birth a business. It may be a time where you put your experience, this knowledge and information into something brand new. So we're looking at more of a birthing energy, and the creativity is here to support you with that. For others, it's going to be that you get back down and you're a climber, so you're going to start venturing up a brand new mountain, new themes, new topics, new adventures, studying new things. It's sort of, there is a newness about this whilst there is an ending, and some of that is applying what we've learned from this past experience into a new one, but there is a deflation as well in some other aspects of our being, like a deflation of the ego. So it can be like, oh, whoa, I've been really in my mind the last, the last couple of months, and I feel like I'm coming back into my body now. It can be that there's been a lot of stress inside of the system and there's some relaxation coming about here. It can be that there's been a lot of fire and spinning and confusion, and the water, the softness, the kind of peace starts to come back into the system. In the same way, I kind of feel really masculine, fast forward, action, action, action. You can be going into that stargazing energy where you let almost the duality or the pendulum swing back into center, where there's a little bit more neutrality here. So the vision I see of that is of the hot air balloon landing back down, and it feels really comfortable. The feet are on the ground. If you've been up in the ether, it's a really nice time to come back down to earth right now. And I think we're going to start to see this in our interactions. Some more down to earth interactions. The other stuff is just kind of feeling really dry, not really palpable at all. And we're going to feel almost repelled by it. It's oh God, I'm just finished with that. And I can't do that. Not to myself, not to the people around me. And I also don't want to be a part of that in my circles. So finishing off here on a really positive note, how can you contribute to the lives of other people this month? How can you contribute to the earth from the room and the space in which you're in? How can you contribute with your breath? How can you contribute with your light? How can you contribute with your love? How can you contribute with your wisdom, your kindness, your generosity? Where can you be more generous and loving today? We've been afraid of sharing our energy because we felt like we haven't had enough. Part of this fatigue and this exhaustion this year has been because of the continuous layers of challenges. We're going to feel more naturally energized now, and in fact, energized by the experience of giving. So where can you be more generous? This was something I asked myself yesterday, and I thought, you know what, bugger it, I'll get on and do some mini readings on my Instagram. And it felt so nice just to contribute in that way. And I actually felt really inspired. Inspired, I will do it again. And I think if we can look from this perspective, we're looking from that space which starts to feel more abundant too. I am happy to be generous, and I'm happy to give from this beautiful place where it feels really natural and easeful. This doesn't need to be materialistic giving. It can be in that way if you're in that position too. It can be your smiles. It can be buying somebody a coffee in the line. Let it be simple. Perhaps it's contributing some cleanliness to your environment. You take a bag on your walk and you pick up rubbish as you go by. Perhaps it's prayers for those whom are in a less fortunate position than you at this moment. Perhaps it is sharing your soul's work and taking that risk and perhaps it is grounding your light into the earth. Whatever it is for you, it's a time to be generous. It's a time to exercise being kind, not only to yourself, but to those whom are around you. Value kindness and nice. I feel nice, this energy can be really nice, and not mistaking that kindness for weakness. It's a strength, and it may not have always been perceived that way this year, but it's it's this functioning from the heart that I feel like is really deeply available this month. And things are going to feel pretty wild, pretty wacky if we're out of sorts and we're not inside of our bodies or functioning from that place. So keep your awareness nice and sharp, and I will see you in December for the final month of 2023. I have spots open for readings. They're available at the moment. All those details are down below. I don't need to go into any more detail than that. I love you infinitely, and I will see you soon. Okay, lots of love. Bye.